All right, everyone, get ready because today we are talking about consistency and developing habits. It's going to be a good show, just because. Welcome to our show. My name is Todd, and I'm here with my wife and business partner, Jen.
Hello.
We're the co-owners of Hello Hair Co. and Hello Hair Pro. You're listening to the Hello Hair Pro podcast. This episode is brought to you by our friends Ping Pong Design and Marketing.
Ping pong.
But we'll get there. Dude, okay. We have to mention the weather.
It's beautiful.
Absolutely amazing. So first of all, I want to mention it because we've got the windows open and these mics pick up everything. So It is what it is. Mm-hmm. I'm not willing to sacrifice this fresh air.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I was outside with Bowie, who's our lab pup. And how old is he? 12 weeks now?
I think so.
Just about, right?
Or more.
Just over.
Yeah, around that.
And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Just walking down the driveway.
Yeah, it's a great day.
All right, so what are we talking about today? Consistency and developing habits. So why is consistency and developing habits important?
Tell us, Todd.
Sure. I'll go, and then you can go. So I think if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to lead any sort of team or group, you're going to need to be able to create consistency. If you're, for example, the owner of a hair salon and you're going to have employees or other people around you, you need to create consistency for your salon, for your brand. And it's got to match your vision.
Correct.
And when someone comes in, they're not going to get the same service. We don't want cookie cutter stylists and barbers at our place. We want people to do sort of what they want to do and be creative, but everyone should be treated the same. Mm-hmm. Everyone should expect a certain level of service. And that's what's important with the consistency. Now, if you're a business owner and you might have some other business where you need cookie cutter, like it has to be the same all the time, right? Say you're a fine dining restaurant, that has to be the same.
Yeah. In our field, creativity is so important, or some individuality.
Sure.
Is that a word?
Yeah, man.
Is so important. But I think if you have, we have a playbook, and if you have consistent rules and like how things are done and what's the expectations laid out, then within that, people can play and do as they choose within your rules, and they know kind of the standards and the boundaries.
So if you're listening and you're like, what the hell is a playbook? So playbook is just what we call our handbook. It's an employee handbook, and we call it a playbook because it's where everything comes from. It's where our plays, like this happens, do this, right? Yes. It's all written out. And if you don't have that, get that going because it's going to help you create consistency.
Ours is a living document too, so it means it's always being updated and changed, and depending on the circumstance or what we're implementing.
Yeah, businesses change,
and should.
Yes, they have to adapt. That's a different podcast. Yeah. That's a good one right there. Mm-hmm. How to move your salon from the 1940s to 2023. So look, here's the deal with consistency. Because I keep seeing this stuff on the socials networks, but I keep seeing like consistency and frequency confused still. And like people will say, if you want to be to be consistent on Instagram, you have to show up every day. False. That's false. So our podcast, I would say, is consistent. We post once a week. Mm-hmm. That's our schedule.
Right.
We'll get into some things you can do and why these things are important in a second, but let's not try to redefine words that already have definitions. So frequency and consistency are two different things. Your frequency could be once a week you show up on Instagram. If that's the effort you can start with, if that's what you can put in the beginning.
Consistently do that.
Yes, and consistency is just making sure you do that. I am inconsistent with Instagram, and I don't care to be consistent with Instagram because I don't care. It's not where it's more for fun for us.
Yeah.
And showing off our salon, showing off our staff, showing off our clients, which is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. As long as you define these things for yourself, you're going to be okay. you don't have to go, when you're trying to create a habit, you don't have to jump in and do everything every day. It's going to get overwhelming. Right. So let's break this down into what you would do for yourself. And then we will talk about like what you could do with a team.
Okay.
That's how we'll kind of break up the pod. So with yourself, I think step one is you got to keep your ego in check.
Absolutely.
Like you just have to start. Don't worry about things being perfect. And this isn't, I know I brought up social media for an example. I'm not talking about consistency with social media. I'm talking about developing habits for anything. If you need your team to get better at cleaning or turning off the lights or whatever stupid thing you need, you've got to figure out a way to create that habit, develop that habit. And it happens through consistency.
Right. And your leadership.
Yes. And I guess we'll get there for the team. I was going to make a note, but I will, we'll touch on it after. So for yourself, keep your ego in check and just start. Don't worry about things being perfect. Something I would do too is to define what you're after. I don't know. Give me an example of something you, like a habit you want to create.
Right now I am working on defining what is expected for a closing list at the salon in depth. I'm updating ours to what we need to be doing.
Yeah. So fantastic.
And it's an update because we have one, but it needs to be a little bit more.
We have one. It needs to be probably just updated, like you said.
Clear,
yeah, things need to be a little more black and white on there. And we just have to get people in the habit of checking it because I think everyone means well, right? But you get complacent. And this happens in every salon, I guarantee you. But somebody's leaving and they say, hey, do you need anything? That's not good enough.
Right. And that's where that's what's just started to happen with us. So we're going to implement, and I set the idea in motion with the staff, like, hey guys, I'm going to update this closing list. I'm also going to give you like what's expected at the end of your shift. Cause we have split shifts at our salon. So this way, when someone's leaving, they're not like, hey, do you need anything? It's going to tell them exactly what is expected of their work area and how we want it left. And then there's a closing list so they can check off some stuff. Like, I don't need the shampoo bottles wiped down every time someone leaves, but once a day, why not? So if you're leaving and you're like, hey, can I do anything? Well, check something off that you can do, Right. And then we're going to let them check it off. So at the end of the night, everything will have at least gotten done once, and it just keeps us at the level of cleanliness that we want. And then it's a team effort to all work together.
Gotcha. So you've got to define what you're after. And I don't know if we answered that at all, but okay. Here we go.
We're defining that. We want a better closing list so that we can be more efficient and be more team effort in closing.
Be more team effort in closing?
Yeah, that was a bad sentence.
It sure was.
I guarantee you, though, whoever
this episode is brought to you. No, I'm just kidding. We need I have a trombone on here somewhere.
You'd be using that all the time with me.
All right, so you're going to define what you're what is the habit you're changing. So I used to do this when I worked with people at the gym. They would come in and they're like, I know I should work out. Okay, why? There's got to be more to it, because just knowing you should work out is not a great motivator for people.
I know I should do this.
So it might, we would ask dozens of questions, and you might keep asking questions. Why is this important? And then eventually you arrive at things like, well, I was running around with my son. I tried to play basketball and I was so winded. It sucked. I couldn't even play with my son. Yes, that sucks. I'll tell you what we can do now with that. We can use that. So you've got to define, really dig deep and figure out why this is important. You need a why. And then from there you can set your goal. So now it's easy to set a goal. Your goal becomes to be able to play basketball with my son and not be winded.
Right.
That's way more specific. It's way better than I know I should work out.
Right.
I can't draw off of that. Yes.
For sure. Yes.
And there's emotion there. If you can't run around with your son, that's sad. So use that.
Right.
And then you can break things down. So at the gym, for example, it was, okay, let's get you going. What does your schedule look like? I don't prescribe. I would get as much information as I could from someone before prescribing a plan. Because if I thought, okay, this person needs to work with me one-on-one 3 times a week for 45 minutes, because that's probably what they can handle. But they have 60 minutes 2 times a week. Well, then I've got to work with that.
Right.
So we just switch things up a little bit. But you've got to have a goal. Another thing I think you've got to do is just create scenarios for success. You have to put yourself in the shoes. Walk the walk, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I don't like the term, but fake it till you make it, right? You're going to the gym or you're going to work. You've got to have that mindset.
Yes.
It's got to be a positive mindset, and you have to believe that you can do what it is that you've set out to do. Because I'll tell you what, if you're going to walk around, and this is kind of, I was going to make this note when we talk about team stuff, but we'll make it here too. If you're walking around saying, I'm just not good at, like, say for example, all right, let's use Instagram. Let's go back to social media because it's just an easy, relatable example. You know, if you walk around just saying, you know, I'm just not good at posting on Instagram, you're not going to get better at it.
Right.
Just what?
And that's where the focus has to change. Like, all right, I'm going to commit to posting on Instagram once a month. Like whatever is, that would be a frequency thing, right?
Yep.
And then it's consistency. So whatever that is for you, instead of like, oh, I'm just not good at it, or I just never do it. Okay, well, what can you arrive at? What can you do? Or just don't do it if that's really not.
That's what I was just going to say.
Want to do. Or like I said, make a smaller goal that you can do. I think what a lot of people do when they're trying to develop better habits is like, I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm going to start doing a newsletter for my staff, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you do it like once or twice, and then you never do it again. And that's really what you want to avoid. So you want to pick one thing, start doing that consistently first. And after that becomes what I call like a muscle memory, or it's just happening all the time. Then add something else on. Don't try to do so many things at once that you end up not doing any of them for very long, because that is, to me, one of the worst things you can do.
Like the up and down.
Yeah.
Like do it for a bit, forget about it.
And especially if you have a staff, because then they're expecting it, and now all of a sudden it's gone. Like we had committed to the podcast for a year. Like, let's see where it goes, because we had no idea. Would we like it? Would we not? Like, but this was the plan for us. And then here we are. It's over a year, and we're enjoying it, and it's been really fun. And we're able to help and reach some people, and that was our goal.
Yeah, it became a goal after.
But it wasn't like, oh, we'll just do 5 episodes and see what happens. Like we were like, no, we knew we needed to consistently commit to it, to even have metrics to gauge how it was going to be, or something like that.
Okay.
That was a weird end of my sentence.
That's okay.
I'm going to get better at speaking.
Take a public speaking class.
I think you've said that before.
I have. Yes. It's beautiful out. I'm just going to stare out the window. And that brings us to our next point. Focus. So here's the deal. When I wanted to, I used to write a lot. I did newsletters and stuff like that, and they were fun. And then I put it on the back burner for some time. And then recently I started getting back into writing. So I do, a blog for another company and different things. Something that helps me is to be able to just have that time to really like focus. And I use headphones. I have noise canceling headphones. Sometimes I even will play like white noise on there. Sometimes I just put them on. And I don't know what it does for me, but I put my headphones on. I don't even need to turn them on. It just puts me in like a work or a writing sort of like mode. Like I know I'm going to do this, unless I'm listening to music or a podcast. But if there's nothing on, it's just silence. So that works for me. I don't know what would work for you. Right. You have to figure out your own workflow. Yeah, and for sure. And it's going to depend on the scenario, like going to work out. Like if I guess you could use headphones for that too, or whatever. When you're starting out, you're trying to create some consistency and develop habits. Don't go crazy. Don't like what you said, go crazy. Don't overshoot it and try to do too much. Yeah. Once. Build slow. Yes. So for us with the podcast, it was once a week. That was plenty. For us in the beginning, it was a lot. Yeah. Now it's a little easier because we have a workflow that we built that sort of built itself, to be honest. Yeah, true. Another thing that can really help you is to schedule things. So we have a giant whiteboard calendar that fills the entire wall that I'm staring at right above Jen's head. Mm-hmm. And Jen doesn't use it. I'm going to start. Yep. You've been saying that for 4 months.
Has it been that long?
I think so.
Dang.
It's been at least 3.
We also have a small whiteboard on the side of the fridge, and I keep that one updated. So I just have to work on.
That one's tiny, and you use a giant marker, so I can't
I don't
read
have
it.
any skinny markers.
They're up here, where the whiteboard calendar is.
Well, the one originated downstairs.
So
and I use it for the family.
this thing's like, I don't know, 3 feet by 2 feet, 2.5 feet.
It's ginormous.
3 by
people.
2.5.
It's ginormous.
I don't know. It's big enough. So I have everything on there: appointments, phone calls. I have podcasts listed out. I have the, title or the initial sort of thought for each episode. So even if we haven't recorded an episode like this one I had on the 17th, what we're recording for, it says pod 58, consistency and mindset. That helps me because now I can glance at it and I'm like, okay, I need to start working on whatever. It's more of a prompt,
The more you're organized too in your space, the more effective you're going to be and the more efficient and the more you're going to get done and not be all over the place, which again comes back to keeping you in focus. And you could lay out, say there's 4 things. You're like, I need to get these 4 things entered into my business. It needs to start happening right away. It doesn't mean that you have to put all 4 into effect on the same exact day, but you could lay out, all right, I'm going to roll this one out here. I'm going to roll this one out here and keep yourself in still a consistent manner, but know that to do it all in one day is not going to be enough. And like you said, schedule your work. So maybe over the next 4 months, every month you're going to roll out something new for a habit that's going to help your business or help your personal life, however you do that, and just consistently lay that out. And then the frequency would be once a month, I'm going to add in a new habit.
Yeah. So I'll take it a step further because I don't like I don't like how that can get confusing, I think, to people. So for example, again, I'll use the gym. Sometimes people would come in and they're like, this month I want to do this. Next month I want to do this. That doesn't make sense. We don't know if you're going to be ready to take the next step in a month. You might be ready in a week. Who knows?
Right.
So what I would do is set out your parameters or set out your goals and try to get them around the time that you think realistically you're going to hit them.
That makes sense.
So if somebody comes in and they're like, okay, I want to be able to do a muscle up, say, for example, which is when you pull yourself from under a bar or a set of rings. If you don't know, you pull yourself up above them. So if you can't do a pull up, that's the first part you need. If you can't do a dip, that's the second part you need, or the third part, because you need the transition. But anyways, you've got to focus on breaking those things down into components.
Right.
You can't just say like, oh, I want to do a muscle up this month, and then next month I'm going to do this.
Right.
Like you've got to, some things are going to take a little longer. Also, you don't want to get overwhelmed. So if you have things that you've laid out, and I'm not trying to attack your point at all, but if you have things laid out and you're like, oh man, now I'm bummed out because I didn't reach that this month. And I'm not in the position to add on what I thought I could add on. So I think again, just building the habit and building it super, super slow is the fastest way to get it done.
Right. And if you have a list of stuff and you haven't done any of it to this point and you're listening, well, then to just get one thing checked off your list is better than 0, which is back to when we started the podcast and you said, just start somewhere, start doing something. So the fact that you may have a list of 10 things you haven't got to in the last year or 2 or 3, cool. But that doesn't mean that just because you got inspired to do all of it at once. So pick one, focus on that first. And like to your point, I mean, I didn't feel attacked, but then you can take on the next ones. You can still have that list and it's your living document, but seeing as though it's taking you this long, then don't worry about how long it's going to take you to get it done. Just start on one of them.
For sure.
I've been focused on this closing list for the last 3 months, and I'm finally going to lay it out and hopefully get it posted this week. It's going to be great.
Why have you put it off? Just haven't got around to it?
I haven't had a computer, which I just got.
Oh, yeah.
To
You
actually
just got a new laptop. Great.
Lay it out. And
even though we have a laptop here and we have a computer at the salon, I'm just picking on you.
Yeah.
You look confused, like I was going to say something.
That's not mine. And the one at the salon it's for the salon.
Yeah. The closing list at the salon has nothing to do with the salon. We wouldn't want to use the salon computer for that.
I need a workflow. And if I had to use the computer at the salon and then people have to check people out every time you're going to type something up, you have to move out of the way. So that to me is so inefficient that I want to be able to sit down, work on a list and not be interrupted. That's my workflow. That works for me.
There you go.
Maybe not for all of you.
So working without interruption. Yes. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're cooking with peanut oil.
Yeah. So anyway.
That's a great point, though.
And I wasn't sure how I wanted to lay out the look of the list because
it's got to be aesthetic.
Yeah. Yes. Everything does for me. So I needed to have a feel to it. And I've got it now in my head how it's all going to look. I'm ready.
I'm sure you do because you had it last time and you wallpapered that back room.
Oh, I'm redoing it because I wallpapered it and it's too spazzy and it gives me like anxiety. So that's coming down. And I didn't even wallpaper it the right way. It's like sideways. I don't know what I was thinking. Actually, I know what I was thinking. I was in a bad mood because the client came in and was mean to me.
All right. So what are some other things you can do to create habits and develop consistency? Accountability is a big one.
Yes.
If you, for example, are going to the gym, you're much more likely to show up if you've got a buddy going to the gym. Or if you have a buddy that you know is going to the gym later and is going to text you to see if you went to the gym. Doesn't even have to be in person.
Yes, that one works for me. Just accountability in general with that.
Just knowing, I will tell Jen, she doesn't ask. She doesn't care. I mean, she cares, but I'll tell you when I get workouts in.
Yeah, I do
Why?
the same.
Because it's just like, it's become habit now, for one, because I just do it. But I'll be like, oh, I had a really busy day, but I was able to sneak in 30 minutes on the bike, or I got to go take a walk, or I lifted some dumbbells or whatever, you know?
My sister will try to tag me in something first thing in the morning. And I'm always like, oh, I got to get my butt moving now. Then I'm like, all right, I did it. I'm so proud of myself.
Calls you out. Yeah. So if you want to be more aggressive, call your friends out. That'll help.
That works for me. I don't know why.
For sure. And we talk a lot about giving an honest effort. You've got to define or try to define what that means for you. And each thing will be different. If you're building a business say you have a salon and you're trying to create a culture, that's not going to happen in a week, not even in a quarter. It's probably going to take you a couple of years.
Yeah, I was going to say I would look at that as years. But that takes leadership and consistency every day, every week to keep that culture going. I love in our salon right now because we've had a good amount of people that's for the last year. And when we bring in new people, you can immediately see this in any salon or business, if you have culture or not. And it's so cool to see exactly like where the culture in our salon sits. Everyone's like helping and doing everything that we've let out as expectations. And now it's just become so normal for them.
Yeah, it's second nature because that they are in it. We do it.
Amazing.
We actually do what we say we're going to do. You know, if you're a business owner, or even if you're not a business owner, go through the foundations exercise of creating yourself some core values and then live them, walk them, breathe them, dream about them, whatever you got to do. Because that just guides everything. And we literally have our core values at our salon printed and in frames on a wall, a bright yellow wall, but they're not just there. Like I show them to people and people will walk down that, hallway and check them out. But we also like actively use them.
Yes.
Like they're a big part of who we are in our culture. Celebrating wins is another thing that is going to help you. So have some sort of reward for yourself. I don't know.
Love that.
I don't know what it is.
It is important to celebrate the good things when they happen because in anything there's ups and downs, and it can be easier sometimes to focus on the down stuff of like everything you don't have, but
way easier.
If you can change that mindset and focus on the things that you do have and the successes that you are experiencing, that's a much better place to live in. And you generally start to see more successes come your way, more positive things, because that's where your focus is.
Yeah. So when we talk to someone on the phone, if we're mentoring somebody, we start our phone calls off with, tell me something that went well. What's going good? Right? Because we know there's some sort of problem that we need to fix, because that's a constant, not we, but our team, like the 3 of us, 4 of us, whatever it is. Right. So we want to start with the wins because it sets the tone for the conversation. If you start out of the gate with, hey, what's going on? like, oh, I had a client no show me, and then I had this, and I have a
Right.
policy, and my insurance is renewing, and I don't have money for that. And like, if you come up with all these problems, now you've got to dig yourself out of that mental negative hole.
Right.
Where if you start on a positive note, things don't look so bad.
Correct.
So maybe for you, it's every Friday, or, you know, most people listening, maybe you work Friday and Saturday. Those are your busy days. I don't know. So maybe every Saturday afternoon or evening or whatever, you sit down and you write down 3 things that happened that week that were positives, 3 bright spots, whatever.
And be excited. Share them. Tag us if you do it.
Yeah.
Put it on your social.
Celebrate those wins. And then we already talked about an honest effort. So I don't know why this keeps popping up in my notes. I think I just highlighted the wrong thing.
It's such an important part, though, because you can say you're going to do all this stuff, or you can be like, I'm going to change this stuff. But if you don't really put in the work, it's not going to change. The new habit's not going to form, and you won't be consistent. So be true to yourself on that one.
Yeah. And I'll add that you should probably spend some time thinking about like the logistics of things, like the reality of what you're about to do. So if you're shifting a culture in your business, the way you attack that is way different than like how I would attack, for me, like going to the gym or being more active. That you can force that. So you can wake up in the morning and be like, oh, this sucks, but this is when I have to go to the gym, and I'm going, and you go and you fight through it. And there's value there. With a culture, a business culture, you're not just going to come in and strong arm it. It's never going to work. People are going to quit. People are going to get pissed off. They're not going to do it. They're not going to buy in. So you're going to take an approach where you just ever so slightly nudge things into the direction that you want. And if you've got good people on your team, they will eventually pick up. Like if you have problem solvers, which is a big part of how we hire people, if you can't solve basic problems, I don't want to work with you. Sorry to sound so harsh, but I can't think for you. I don't have that sort of bandwidth. I want to be around people that are like,
oh, for sure,
creative and thinking and solving problems on their own. So yeah. And you might look at something like Jen said, you said earlier, it might take years.
Yeah.
All right. That's a long time. Break it down into quarters, break that down into months, and then break that down into weeks. How many weeks do you think it's going to take for you to get your closing list together? Or if you don't have an employee handbook, how long is it going to take you to write that? I don't know what your schedule looks like. Realistically, maybe it takes you a week, or maybe it takes you a quarter.
But the honest effort comes into what days are you working on it, and then actually working on it those days so that it gets done. And that's where the habits start to form and change.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Use the calendar, set aside the time.
Because if you don't, it's just lingering there, and then you're just stressing about it and thinking about it, but never doing it. And that's where that's not a fun place to live mentally, emotionally, anything. It's the doing that makes you feel better.
And so we were talking about creating habits for ourselves, and this is sort of looking in. So I don't want to be confusing, but maybe you delegate stuff out. Like, for example, you could have somebody write your employee handbook. You could give them an outline.
Yeah.
You could hire somebody that does that for a job.
Correct.
Whatever. You know, if you are struggling with, say you want to be on social media, but you're like, I have no money, or I have no time, but I have money.
Right. You can hire someone to do that.
Pay somebody to do your social media for you. I don't know.
Absolutely.
And then you're solving problems right there. All right, let's talk about Ping Pong. This episode is brought to you by our friends, Ping Pong Design and Marketing. If you want to love your website again, or you're looking for more clients to fill your business, check out Ping Pong. Reach out to Chris. Let him know what you're looking for. Check the show notes, and I'll put the link there. It's actually, you know what I was just thinking?
What?
Buzzsprout, who we host our podcast with, just added a feature for footnotes, I think it's called.
Okay.
And so you put in all your links, and then you don't have to do it every episode. It's already there. Cool. So not sponsored by Buzzsprout. That would be dope. But
by Ping Pong. Ping Pong.
Ping Pong. So reach out to Chris. There's a special deal for our listeners. Click the link. It's down there in the new footnotes. I think it's called footnotes.
I like it. I hope it is.
All right. So let's talk about now. You are a salon owner, business owner, bakery owner, candlestick maker, whatever. You've got a team. and you want to create some consistency with your team. You want to develop some habits, and we will work under the assumption that this is something new.
Okay.
Because if you already have this stuff established and someone comes in and they're just not doing it, that might just be a bad employee.
Right.
So just to get that out of the way. And you're not
And that
going.
happens.
Yeah, that happens. And some people just aren't going to get with it.
That's where if you do have a culture, it almost makes hiring more fun because you'll see right away if they fit or not, if they're a good fit for you and your business or not. Without it, I feel like you're just spinning your wheels and you're like, I don't know, why is this not working?
For sure. Yeah. And, you know, if you're listening, just again, a little warning here. Don't let your team just decide everything. But if you create that culture where people truly care about the work, they care about the business, they care about the people next to them, that helps a lot, like you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So if I was working with a team and I needed to put some systems in place, I needed to create some habits, first thing I would do is probably remove all of the stress that I possibly could for people. Because the easier you make it, the more likely they are to do it, the more likely it is to become a habit.
Mm-hmm.
If you make things so freaking complicated, and you might be in an industry where it's complicated. Say for example, you are a baker. I'm sure there are some recipes that are complicated, right? That's a different story. That's a non-negotiable. But if you're putting, I don't know, creating a culture or whatever at your salon, you got to make it easy.
Yeah, when we were opening Hello,
trying to think of an example.
I'll give you one.
Oh, cool.
And this was, we were opening Hello, and one of the things I had to admit and be really honest about with Todd was the lack of knowledge I had behind truly how to clean shit. Like, I didn't know, like, no one ever, maybe they did teach me, I don't remember, but like when you put a comb in a barbicide, some people just leave it there all day. Some people say you can't leave it there. Some people say you have to change your barbicide every single time. Some people say you don't. I was like, dude, I have no idea.
Stop saying barbicide, because this is not an ad for barbicide.
Well, whatever you clean your stuff with.
I can't stand barbicide in there.
But anyway, so I was like, we need a system, because I also had been in the salon industry for so long. Like, people are dirty. I don't care. 99% of the people I worked with are just dirty. They don't clean their stuff, and that's that. So what's the system
got called out.
We're going to put in place that makes it really easy to flow through it and so simple that it can be a consistency thing right from the get-go? Todd was able to take my information, lay it out, and then we walked through it and we took our staff through it, and it was so easy. It was like, oh, this is great. And everybody was so excited. And it's just become a culture in our salon. It's just what we do. There's just no way around it. So no matter who's coming in and where they've come from, whatever salon they worked at, we go right through how you clean your stuff, and it's laid out and so simple that now that's just how they do it. They never even question it. Like, oh, okay, that's how it's done here. And that's how everyone's doing it.
Yeah, we kept it as simple as possible. So here are the steps. There's like 4 steps, and you just do those. And there's even, if you don't have time to do this now, here's where you keep your dirty stuff until you have time to do it. Right? Oh, I'm going to forget that's here. Here's a timer. Set the timer.
Yep.
Like it's
yeah, we really
foolproof.
set it up like for all scenarios. Yeah.
It's set up like an assembly line.
Yeah, it is.
It's like you do this step and then you go through just left to right, and it's pretty simple. Also, when you're working with a team, another tactic you might use is to create opportunities for people. Say, for example, you want people to be more active on social media. Reward people, give them the opportunity. So if you are posting on social media, share, like if somebody posts on social media, celebrate that for them, and then share their post or comment, tag, like it, whatever you got to do.
Right. And then you'll make someone feel good, and they want that feeling again. So they'll keep doing it.
Those dopamine hits. And then, yeah, I would celebrate often, which we talked about earlier, but with your team, celebrate. Maybe, you know, every week you are, like, we use Slack for communicating with our staff. Maybe you're going in there. I go in there every once in a while and we do the 5-star rating system thing that pulls up. I think we talked about that last week on the show. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, as one of the automation things that
that makes sense, because on the calendar it says systems.
Yeah.
So if you like we have a system that automatically, I believe it's a text message. Is it an email or a text message? Either way, it goes out to, if you had a service at our salon, it goes out to you and it says like, how was your service or whatever it looks like. And then people just fill it in. And sometimes people hit 5 stars. Sometimes they ignore it. Sometimes they write a book on what they loved. It's more rare to get a negative one because usually that would come to you, or people go to freak out in public, like on Google. So they think they're cool, but they're not cool. And then I get to be sarcastic back to them, which is always fun. Hey, that's my culture. But anyways, I'll run through that and just, I'll name the staff and then I'll say, here are all the great things people are saying about you, because that feels good for people. So I'm using it as a way to get people to be more mindful in their work and to understand the impact that they're having on people. But also, like, yes, it's a tool for a business owner, but it also is the right thing to do. It also feels good for people. It also builds camaraderie. Like, they know that I know. They know that Jen knows that they're doing good work and that they're valued. So I think if you
Very important.
For sure. When you're working with a team, the other thing, I'm sure there's a ton of stuff. I had a few notes, but find out what they want. That's a big part of it. Employees leaving businesses they're not leaving. They're leaving probably because they're not seeing opportunities. They're not seeing maybe that they're recognized or valued. They move on. People move on. So if you want to create consistency in your business, and I know we're in like a high turnover sort of industry, I feel like we tend to hang on to the bulk of people for a good amount of time. I don't know. What's the average person? What's the average hair pro at a location? Like, is there a stat for that?
I'm sure there is. I don't know what it is. I could guess, but I don't have a clue.
Give it a guess. I don't have a clue either.
I say 3 to 5 years usually, if you're lucky. But I've been in salons where people have been there for 20-something years. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, there's got to be an average somewhere out there. I want to look it up. But
yeah. I think one of the things in that is if you want to change a habit in your salon, if you can give your staff, if you can create a playbook and then give your staff freedom within knowing how to play within your rules, that is huge for keeping staff because they want the freedoms, but they do want rules too. They want to understand like how to play the game. Oh, for sure. People want to be expected of them. People want to be led. And then they want to be free in that. So if you're able to do that, that is really where you'll keep staff. And that's a habit. If you can create your playbook and then give the freedoms, as long as you know that they know the rules and you're not micromanaging, and then you'll have lots of room in your own schedule to do other stuff. That's how you're going to keep people. And that would be a cool habit if you could develop it and change it. Another thing that's cool too is excitement. So sometimes I don't have a specific example off the top of my head, but I get excited when other people are excited. Me too. It's like contagious to me. So if you're trying to get your team excited about stuff, have some fucking excitement yourself. Yeah, for sure. Have a little, I don't know what you need, Sally. Maybe you need some coffee or something. Maybe you need a glass of wine. Who knows? Whatever you got to do, make it happen. But then get up for your team. So, for example, we're going to be doing some bio stuff. So if I show up to the salon and I'm like, hey guys, we're doing some bio stuff. Just whenever you're ready, just come over here. I'll just take your picture. It's not very exciting. No. So we're going to tell our team why we're doing this. We're going to tell our team why we're excited about doing this. We're going to tell our team what we're doing different than every other salon in the world. Maybe not in the world, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And we're going to show excitement because we're excited. We've been putting some thought into this and how we can make it happen. And what is that, a motorcycle? Lawnmower. A lawnmower. It figures. Where is it? In our yard? It is in our yard. Oh, it's the people that treat the lawn. All right. So now you have that. We're going to wrap up anyway, so. That's awesome. Do you have anything else to add? I don't think so. All right. I was so confused just then. All right. So as always, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week. Yes. Check out the show notes or footnotes, whatever they're called now. Pick something new to try and do it consistently. Commit. If you need help or want to chat, hit us up. Have a great day. This guy's just riding around, spraying
Stuff out on the
Straight in
lawn. Epic. Bye, everyone.